One of the most striking art exhibitions that I ever attended, Carl, was an exhibition of outsider art. Something I'm sure you're very familiar with. Outsider art, of course, is work that is made by people who are often institutionalized for mental health problems, or they are just incredibly, the people who aren't in any way part of the art establishment.
Well, they're right up to psychopathic murderers, clinically insane mass murderers would count as outsider art. I went to an outsider art exhibition in New York. It was incredible, and I bought a painting of this guy. He's a chronic schizophrenic, and he paints in tar, like road tar that he gets from roads, and he paints in that on wood he finds in sort of skips, and it's incredible because it's sort of like scratched in. And it's amazing, and there's this thing of Jesus being helped down off the cross, and you have to study it, but it's there, and it's quite incredible that it's just scratched in this wood by tar. And there's loads of things that I was walking around. Admittedly, I was walking around there going, "This is fucking mental," and James was going, "You've got to stop saying that," because of course some of the people are mental. There was one bloke who done a sculpture of a skull, right, and underneath. It was like a little head with his teeth. Underneath he'd put a sign that said real teeth. Where did he get the real teeth from?
What I think is interesting about that is how much therapy it provides for these often mentally unstable people, which is another important value of art, of course. People's self-expression, people being able to give a little piece of themselves through their work. Do you not see any value in that? How do you express yourself?
Whistle.
You whistle?
Yeah, I found over Christmas I whistled a lot more than I usually do, and I think that was just freedom.
What do you mean freedom?
Right,
freedom.
expand on this point if you would.
Well, that's what art is, isn't it? It's you being free of all the world's heaviness on your shoulders.
See, that's a great quote, that. That's great, that. For art is freedom. I love that, because I think you've really hit on something there.
Would you include the free of all the world's heaviness?
Well, I know what you meant. I know what you meant there.
Would you include that one in it?
I mean, I would include the world's heaviness in my freedom. You know, some artists are attracted to the dark side, the heaviness of the world.
But I just want to return to you whistling as your artistic expression of freedom. I mean, why did you find yourself whistling more?
That's what was weird.
So just take us through a typical day. When would the whistling begin?
So this was that you spent Christmas down in Kent with Suzanne and her parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could I suggest something? Your freedom was thinking, I'm in my own place now, I'm going to annoy them.
Well, it was mainly, it's when we were playing Scrabble. And they were taking ages to have their go, and couldn't have the radio on because the boiler affects the radio.
You've got boiler problems down in Kent as well?
It works, it just gives something off. Every time it kicks in, the radio goes all staticky.
Right.
So I just was sort of supplying the soundtrack.
And what kind of things would you be whistling?
It was like, I just sort of did a whistle medley. It was going from one thing to another.
A Wedley.
And a man was impressed. She was like, "Oh, you can whistle, can't you?" I was going, "Yeah." And then she was saying, "How loud can you go?" I was just doing all different levels.
Sorry, this sounds like a scene from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The boiler's setting off the radio. I can whistle. Oh, you're good whistling, aren't you? Oh, yeah, Scrabble. Talk about outsider art.
I love the fact that Carl's life is like living in a home when you're in your 80s.
Yeah.
But you felt that this was your way of expressing yourself.
I just found it odd because I don't whistle that much. I think just because I think I'm fed up most of the time when I'm in London, and you don't whistle when you're fed up. Whistling's a happy thing. You never get an angry man suddenly breaking into a
well,
whistle.
the people who aren't whistling are usually pissed off. But yeah, the bloke who's whistling, it's like it's the least. He's the least annoyed person in the room when someone's whistling. Same as holding a drill. The only person that noise doesn't annoy is the bloke who's drilling. Everyone else wants to punch his face in. Same with whistling. Whistling, there's no point in whistling.
No, there is.
No, there's not. The only point to whistling is in a bloke's changing room. Everyone's whistling, going, "I'm not looking at your cock." If I'm whistling, I can't be looking at your cock. Anything else? There's no calling a dog. Maybe calling a dog
It changes the atmosphere.
Yeah, it annoys everyone else.
Don't know. I mean, our window cleaner was known as, like, that's how you knew he was there. he always whistled. And in the end, he fell off his ladder, broke his front teeth,
Oh.
retired.
What, because he couldn't whistle?
That was it. It was like,
Well, yeah, he
can't
whistled
whistle,
all the time.
can't whistle,
Well, yeah.
can't clean windows. It's a bit tragic.
Could he take along a whistle? Just pop that in his mouth.
Yeah, I suppose he could have done. He didn't think of that.
What about a flute? Or a recorder? Not London's burning again. Fucking clean the windows and then fuck off.
He didn't really think this through, did he? He retired at the age of 28. And his whole family were bankrupt.
With no teeth.
Yeah.
And just a
Why
bucket and a
why aren't
squeegee.
you working, Dad? Because I can't whistle.
I can't whistle anymore. And if the day you give up whistling is the day I give up window cleaning.
So you never whistle?
No.
I can't really whistle very well. No.
I don't whistle, but I can whistle better than that.
What, you did this for hours on end while playing Scrabble?
About 2 hours.
2 hours?
Hell.
Put my word down.
And
then...
this, sorry, can we just hear that again? Just hear, can we hear it?
So you
But
were
that
whistling. You were whistling after you had your go as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
Fucking hell, Carl.
But hang on, let's just hear a bit. That is Carl's self-expression. That is his artistic self-expression right there.
A name, no tune, no nothing.
There's mental patients who have smeared canvases with shit who have expressed more than you have in that.
Yeah, but it's not about other people. I'm not there to please other people.
You're there to annoy him.
What was the best word you came up with in Scrabble?
Don't knock me at Scrabble, because I do alright. What's weird is, when I play Scrabble, my brain can come up with words that I don't normally say.
Okay, this isn't... No, I'm intrigued here. Your brain can come up with words you wouldn't normally say.
Just words that I'd never drop into a sentence.
Tree, cat.
Go on.
Squirm. That's using a Q. It's worth 10, that. It's not bad, is it? No, I'd never say that.
I've never heard you. I don't think I've ever heard you say squirm. No, I don't think you're right, Carl. I've never heard you say squirm.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is weird.
And yet your brain popped that one out.
And then, yeah, when it wasn't my go, just... Anyway, so that's sort of doing art for yourself as opposed for other people.
I don't think you can count what you just did then as art. Hobby maybe, craft, pastime. I don't think you can count that as art. I'm not being funny. I'm being a bit snobby here, but I think there's a difference between Beethoven and squirm. There's a cue in that.
No. Classical music. I wish I was more educated on classical music. That which I've heard, I've adored. I genuinely find it challenging because it is so spectacular. It is so of another place. Where do you sit with classical music?
It's good. It's good for background, I think.
Right.
See, you know me. I like a song with a story, and there's nothing going on in them. That's
Now the problem with that is, how many times can you hear the same story?
quite a lot. How many times can you watch the same film? Same thing, except it's shorter than watching a film.
Yeah, but the film goes into the story with more depth than a 3-minute song.
Yeah, but there's also, do you know, like when you watch, what's an example? Say, I can't think of a film.
Yeah, there's not many.
No, but a moment in a film that it doesn't matter how many times you watch it, you go, I enjoyed that bit.
Godfather swings to
Well,
mind.
say, no, over Christmas, On the Buses was on the movie.
Oh, Jesus.
You went with The Godfather, you went with On the Buses. I mean, Brando, Varney, I don't know which is better.
It was the bit where, like, the toilet blows up after chucking a fag in. That's had paint in it.
Right, sorry,
seen
that's in All the Buses, that's not in The Godfather. I can't remember that. Maybe that's Godfather 2.
Well, the thing is, I enjoyed that bit and I knew it was coming. It's like, oh, I'll just watch this before I nip out and put the kettle on. Let's just see this
How
bit.
many times have you seen the On the Buses film?
Probably about 4 or 5 times.
Sure, why not?
But all I'm saying is, music is there to sing over.
No, it's not!
Music is there to sing over.
That's a ridiculous thing to say. Music does something to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know why a chord can say something to you. I don't know, mate. Gives you that feeling. I'm in awe of it. I'm in awe of musicians.
Yeah.
My favourite piece of music is a thing by Vaughan Williams. It's 5 variants of Dives and Lazarus, right? And there's a bit there where it hits this chord, and I can't listen to it when I'm away from home because I well up. It reminds me of everything. England, just it does something to me, and it does it on on a level that I can't sort of quite understand. It's just immaculate.
I just
Again,
don't think you can beat a decent vocal on top of that.
Oh, that's amazing!
My mum's got a CD of Roger Whittaker, right?
Right, whistling again.
Now, he whistles Jealous Guy. Now, the thing is, I can't listen to that and whistle along. I end up singing Jealous Guy on top of it.
So, singing trumps whistling?
Yeah, when someone else is doing the whistling.
Okay.
I like whistling, but if someone else has did that first...
So
then
if
I'm
Roger was singing Jealous Guy, you'd be
I'd probably
whistling.
whistling it. To make the classics live on, I'm surprised someone hasn't gone, I can add to this, and dub on a bit of vocal.
So you would have classical music with lyrics.
Just for people
Beethoven's
who want
Fifth. Beethoven's Fifth. That would be better to you. That would.
that. But what are you meant to do with it? What do you do when you've got that on? Then do you whistle along? Or
No,
do
I
you
don't whistle
hum,
along.
Hum?
I let it. Oh,
Do you
Carl,
whistle along?
I just don't know what to say.
Why are you obliged to whistle? That's the only way you can enjoy music, if you can whistle along.
Well, that's the same with anything. A good song, you join in, don't you? It's like, oh, I like this one. Yeah.
No.
So by that token, YMCA is one of the greatest of all tunes.
I mean, it's not one of my favourites, but you can't knock it. It certainly gets the crowd up. I did DJing, and
Why do you care
that
about
was
the
more
crowd?
popular.
Who are this crowd?
Well, I'm just saying.
Who are this crowd that you have to live in your head with? Fuck the crowd. Most of them are idiots.
Although, admittedly, if I was doing a wedding DJing set, I probably would do YMCA over Vaughan Williams.
And why is that? Because it's happier-go-lucky. It's done in 3 minutes. Classical music goes on for ages. It
No, it's a
fades
good
out,
point.
Who's got
fades
time?
out, it comes back in again. Well,
It's a good point.
it's all over the shop.
Are
Yeah.
you going or are you staying?
It's over time, and I'm not saying we should get rid of it, and I might grow into it, because I think that's music for older people.
Well,
You're an idiot.
I think Mozart would disagree. I think he did his first symphony when he was 5 or 6. Probably playing piano and writing music before you could read.
When did the piano come out when he was a kid?
What do you mean?
If it was trendy to have a piano when he was a kid, it's like how kids now, they're messing about on Google at the age of 2 because the laptop is new. It's new to us. To them, it's like, oh, no, it's Google, innit?
What's your point?
Because he was born at the right time.
Beethoven.
Yeah, he was
No,
born.
Mozart. So you're saying
Mozart.
that all 3-year-olds around the time of Mozart were brilliant?
There would have been quite a lot of them. Mozart, Beethoven, all that. They're all Handel. They're all around the same time, aren't they?
Just guessing. Wild stabs in the dark. Just names he's heard. Just names he's heard. So when Ricky was young, when I presume Roll Paris' stylophone came out, everyone was composing on the stylophone.
Yeah,
were they?
exactly.
It's all what you brought up with, isn't it? Nothing's hard if you're given it when you're a kid. Nothing's difficult. It can be taught all sorts. I haven't got room for a piano. It's too big for a pastime. A hobby shouldn't take up a whole corner of a room.
It's so limited, isn't it? His scope, his imagination.
But a piano, the idea that a piano in a house would be a frustration and annoyance.
Music.
That you could play
harmony.
But I'd worry about annoying other people with it as
No,
well.
you don't. You whistle when you're playing Scrabble. You don't worry about annoying people at all. I'm sure people would rather have gentle piano music in the background than squirm. Squirm. So one of the earliest and most celebrated art forms that's, along with painting and music still going today, is the play. And of course, the most famous and celebrated exponent of that is our very own William Shakespeare. Some say maybe the greatest literary genius in history. I'm not a fan.
Right.
And I'll tell you why I'm not a fan. One reason and one reason only.
Sure.
Nothing to do with the structure, his themes, fantastic. The pun.
Right.
Oh, I can't stand the pun.
Yeah, but I mean, although Shakespeare did include a few puns in his work, I don't think you could.
No, I suppose it's the people
It's
that
not
have
gonna
taken
bring
on
you
the
down.
pun. It just reminds me of a bloke in a beard and a pipe at a party doing puns. And it's things like Shakespeare, things like take their maidenheads, and you have to look at your Brody's notes to go, okay, cut off their heads and take their virginity. Oh, brilliant! You can't. It's like you can't explain a joke in retrospect. You don't laugh if you then explain to you.
I'm going to have to take issue with the idea that Shakespeare was not a truly great master of our language.
I think he was.
If you listen- if
he
you
added
listen
to the language. He invented words, or at least he stole words and changed them a bit. He took them from, you know, other languages, which is totally valid. And he made up loads of sayings that are still around today. And there's a poetry in that, inventing new. Actually, Carl, you like sayings, don't you? I've got a list here of some of the sayings and phrases that Shakespeare made up. Really, in a pickle was his.
Yeah.
And we know what in a pickle means.
We know what it means. It's a saying I'd never use. Because when you're in a pickle, it's not something that you would say.
No, if you're captured and you're being tortured for information,
Yeah.
you wouldn't, and you get access to a phone, you wouldn't go, MI5, I'm in a pickle. You'd be screaming, going, he's taking my teeth now.
Much as I love Shakespeare, is when that play was first staged and someone said during the play, "Ooh, I'm in a pickle," did the audience understand, or were they baffled?
Or was it like watching Ken Dodd when he goes, young bunctious?
Exactly.
Oh, terrible hilarious.
Yeah.
So Shakespeare is about as good as Ken Dodd.
That's what we appear to have established. While you've been talking about that, I just was looking on the computer at the Pun of the Day website, because I feel I take much of what you say about puns and agree with it. There's a couple that you might like. There was a sign on the lawn at a drug rehab centre that said, "Keep off the grass."
Okay, now if the pun is the lowest form of wit, and let's face it, sarcasm isn't, sarcasm is up there compared to the pun, then the drug pun, I think, is one of the lowest of the low. Oh, people who congratulate themselves on getting drug references. Keep off the grass, will you? Grass, get it? Grass, you know, smoking the grass, yeah.
Show me a piano falling down a mine shaft, and I'll show you a flat minor.
Oh God. Okay. Good. Okay.
Do you get that?
Well, these are. I mean, that sums up puns, isn't it? It's things that kids get in a cracker. I think pun should be short for punch him in the mouth.
Idioms are better.
Go on then. What's an idiom? Is that a new word you made up?
No,
As in Karl Pilkington's a complete idiom.
I found out what it was because I thought, oh, I like them. What are they?
Right.
And it's like little sayings.
Yeah, that's right.
That sum stuff up.
Go on, give us an example of your favourite.
Oh, can I just say one? Talking about sayings, Carl was getting fed up with something. He was fed up with not getting replies from something. He's having a hard time, you know. And I went, "Oh, the worm has turned." He went, "What?" I went, "The worm has turned. You know, you've."
Stupid saying, isn't it?
No, okay. Tell him why you think that's a stupid saying.
Because how do you know when a worm's turned? Of all the creatures that you could flip over and know it's turned, why pick a worm? It's the worst thing they could have picked to express something turning.
But you're turning literally. It means changing, doesn't it? Changing your attitude. A new broom, turning over a new leaf.
Yeah, but
things are
then
going to
use
be
something that
different now, and
changes.
I'm
Pick
sick of it.
Chameleon.
No, but
Chameleon is a brilliant thing to use for something to change. Chuck that in the sentence. There's nothing that you can link a worm to human life to. You're talking about something it's blind, isn't it? It's blind, it's deaf,
gay.
it's got no features.
Why is he having such a go at a worm?
Just because it's a weird thing to use. Something that its arse does more than its head.
That could be said of you, Carl, to be fair.
We've talked about what art is, we've talked about painting, sculpture, we've talked about music briefly, we've talked about whistling over music to make it better. Poetry, a completely different type of art form there. Carl, what's your thoughts on poetry?
I've never really been a fan of it.
There's a surprise.
I think it's sort of it's all right for the person who's doing it. You know, you say that whistling is just for the whistler, but I think poetry's more like that because sometimes you read it and you're thinking, what's he going on about? It's always a bit, I don't know, it's sold in a bad light. It's a bit sort of a bit gay, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, it depends what sort you're talking about, because maybe there's poetry out there that I haven't heard.
There's some poetry gayer than others.
Yeah.
War poetry can't be gay, can it? That was people.
I haven't heard. Go on.
People fighting in the trenches, and that can't be gay. They weren't gay. They were writing to their sweetheart. I don't know his name. It might have been a bloke. I don't know. But
So was it a sort of a what sort of poem was it? Was it a sort of a limerick, sort of a
no, it was. Well, there's famous ones, Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon, and they're very moving. They're about what usually happens is that they talk about why are we here. This is we've been sold a lie here, and they really started seeing war in a different light from their point of view in the trenches. Famously, some of them died soon after the.
But I prefer
they'd written the poem.
a proper letter. No sort of crypticness. That's the problem with poems.
Okay,
You
so
read
you'd
it
have been disappointed to get Dulce et Decorum Est through the post, would you? You'd have just said, "What are you trying to say, mate? What's the weather like? When you're coming home? Did you get my socks?"
Well, yes. Sometimes life is a bit like that, and it's like, say what you mean.
Right. Well, then you have just wiped all art off the face of the earth if you literally just say what you mean.
No, I'm just saying in a letter. Say if I was a woman and my fella was fighting in a war.
Right. What's your fella's name?
Harry.
Okay, so Harry, let me get this right. So when were you married?
About 1935.
1935. So you've been married about 4 years.
Yeah.
Harry, why don't you go off? Oh, you're a woman, aren't you? You don't. Okay. So what did you see in Harry? Why did you like Harry? Was he?
He just was like funny.
Butch.
He wasn't that butch, but that didn't matter back then, did it? In the war,
No. And
he took everyone.
But what did you say when Harry said to you?
Well, I thought it was coming because a lot of our friends ended up having
Did
to
you just
go
hug
there.
him and say don't go or something?
No point, because that would have just made it tough for him. So I just, what's the point? Just go with it.
But if he
I
had
cried
written-
after he went.
You cried after he went.
That's what you do, innit? You wouldn't do it in front of him. He's got to go to battle.
Okay, so your man goes off to battle.
Right. Then I get a letter from the Colonel saying, "Oh, bit of bad news. Harry's dead." Now I get a letter in the post.
He said what he meant, didn't he? In the
Well, yeah, and they would do, wouldn't they? They wouldn't fanny around saying, "Oh, he was on the warpath and the cloud went dark." I go, "What? Just tell me what happened. I don't want a weather forecast."
he got shot at the arse and the bullet came out his head.
Right. Now, the Colonel, he would just tell me the basics. Now, because he sent his by
Telegram.
telegram, they sent a telegram. The letter I get from Harry has been stamped, so I get it late.
Oh, okay.
So I get a letter from Harry after he's died.
Yeah.
Right, and you know he's dead.
I know he's dead, so I get
Right.
this letter with his handwriting on. I'm devastated because I was just getting over his death.
Yeah.
It's all brought back to me when this letter drops through the post.
Well, yeah, 3
Right.
days and you're pretty much over it.
It's Harry's handwriting.
Yeah.
Oh God, what's this?
What's
now
he
I
written?
open it,
Yeah.
and instead of saying things are bad here, socks are damp, everything's grim, it's cold, I'm sick of it. There's a poem. It wouldn't feel like it was from Harry.
Well,
Because it's not in his words. Poems are never in the person's words.
But didn't you know Harry was a poet when you married him and made love to him
No, I
that
only
night?
picked it up because other people were doing it. It's something to do in the trenches.
But when he carried you over the threshold, Carl, and he laid you down and gently kissed you, didn't he say any? Didn't he ever?
He must have whispered some sweet nothings into
No,
your
it wasn't
hysterical
like
red
that.
head.
It wasn't
No,
like that. Straight
no.
to the point. It was like, get your knickers off.
That's one of the weirdest fucking scenarios I've ever heard. Why the fuck was the telegram coming before the letter? So specific. It wasn't like Harry. The fuck's Harry? Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! There are a few things gayer than poetry, though. I want to throw one into the pot. The continental breakfast.
Oh.
The continental breakfast. That annoys me when I see it. Who orders that? If you've got the choice of eggs, beans, burger, chips, sausages,
Bacon.
all that, you've paid for it already. If I was a waiter and someone said, what do you want for breakfast, mate? And the bloke went, oh, I'll just have a little bit of grapefruit juice and a croissant. I go, do you? Do you want some cum on that? Or are you going to go back to the hotel room and suck a cock?
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm with you there.
What else is gayer than poetry? I remember when I was at school once, right? The worst thing you could be growing up was gay.
Yeah.
In school, it was the worst thing. It was and I remember I was about 14, 15. I was talking to this bloke. I talk about him on my stand-up. David Beasley. He's the one that said if you get captured by cannibals, they show you pornographic pictures when you're in the pot, so you get an erection and there's more meat to go around. So he was an idiot. He made Carl look smart.
Wow.
Really.
Wow.
And he said, you know that thing that kids always do, what would you rather be, blind or deaf?
Yeah.
We did that, and we discussed that for a while, and he went, what would you rather be, blind or queer? And I went, well, I'd rather be gay, because...
Still got all your sights, yeah.
And he went, oh, would you? I went, well, yeah. Well, rather than be blind? I said, yeah. I said, also, if you were gay, you'd like being gay. He went, I wouldn't. I went, no, you would. I said, if you were gay, you would like being gay. He went, I wouldn't, Gervais. Sounds like you would. I went, well, if I was gay, I would like being gay. He went, well, I wouldn't. And he looked at me accusingly, and I went, no, nor would I, but gays would. Which made no sense at all.
Right, yeah.
Just the idea. But this is just like such a stonewall that I'd rather be anything than gay.
Yeah.
Carl, thoughts? Blind or gay?
This is about art, is it?
Hello, I'm Ricky Gervais. Philosophy is the science which considers truth. So said Aristotle, one of the great forefathers of Western philosophy. In its attempt to seek out the truths and principles of human existence, philosophy must answer questions of beauty, of justice, of language, indeed, of the mind itself. To help me consider some of the core concepts and presumptions of philosophical inquiry, I'm joined by Stephen Merchant, graduate of the University of Warwick, an award-winning writer.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And Karl Pilkington, a man with no education, didn't really go to school, no awards, head like a fucking orange, you know the twat.
Alright.
To me, philosophy might be the greatest subject of all academic subjects, the mother of science, asking the big questions, why are we here, how do we live? But it's been sort of mugged and kidnapped by those people who put rubbish under the umbrella of philosophy.
Right.
Cod philosophy. I went to a library once, I looked in the philosophy section, and there was a book by Doris Stokes.
Doris Stokes being, for those that don't know...
A medium who said she was talking to the dead. There's crystals, feng shui.
Feng shui, yeah.
Oh, God.
The interesting thing about feng shui is how I remember someone came into an office I was working in once, and she said, you're going to need crystal here above the lavatory to get all the negative chi out of the cistern. And she said, this crystal is £25. And the guy went, we're not going to spend that. And she went, okay, I got one here for £5.
Brilliant.
It was surprisingly convenient that she had a number of different crystals that apparently did the same job.
We're also going to need a brush to get the shit out of the toilet. What have you got for that?
Yeah, there's a lot of that that twaddle. There was a woman I remember once, I used to do a radio show on the BBC World Service, and she came in and she could tell from the coloured liquids that you chose, from a big selection of coloured liquids, she could tell a lot about your personality from that. So I picked up about 3 or 4, and she looked at them and I chose like a blue one, just arbitrary, and she looked at me and she said, okay, I get the sense that you like to communicate with people, but on a global level.
You were working for the World Service.
As we spoke, we were broadcasting on the World Service. I don't know where, I mean, she just read it from the liquids. As a novice, one of the key catchphrases, if you like, of philosophy, and one that's always intrigued and confused me a little, is the famous René Descartes quote, I think, therefore I am. A lot of people think of that as the epitome, in a way, of a philosophical statement.
First thing we ever did, I think, at degree level, and it's the one thing I'd already heard of. It's one of those things that sort of filters down, cogito ergo sum, as you say, I think, therefore I am, when Descartes was pondering his existence. Just before we get to his conclusion, Karl, how do you know this isn't a dream?
Just because I haven't been sleeping that well.
Right, okay.
No, but you could still be dreaming, couldn't you? Because this could be a dream that you haven't been sleeping lately. You could be dreaming the last few nights you haven't been sleeping.
In dreams, they're different. Like, I mean, like I say, I don't have that many of them because I don't sleep that well. But when I do have one, there's something different and vivid about it. Now, if I was dreaming all this, I reckon my boiler would have been fixed ages ago. I don't think anyone has a dream that goes on for that amount of time.
Well, it could be a nightmare, but the presumption. But I think you're also presuming that the dream that you could be dreaming needs to be exactly the same as the dreams you think of when you're dreaming. My point is, there's no way of you knowing that this life you're living now as you talk to us is real, and that it's not actually the imaginings of another Carl somewhere else.
There are actually no clues, Carl. There are actually no clues now that this is the real thing.
Well, most of the time, it's 1 minute I'm awake, next minute I'm asleep, then I'm awake again.
Yeah.
Sleep's just...
You know the bit between you being awake and awake again? That's called a sleep.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever think things while you're asleep?
Vivid things.
It's that bit between the awake and awake I want to look at.
I told you about one ages ago where...
Go on.
Where you burst in and I was on the toilet.
I never had this dream.
The one that it was like everyone was German and it was at some gig or something, and you opened the door and everyone was looking and laughing at me, and I'm sat on the toilet, and you sort of said, "Oh, that's probably because you're uncomfortable with
fame
being put on the limelight."
Yeah, that you might be. Yeah, possibly. Yeah,
but that's one dream that could be true.
But exactly. Or there is a likelihood that you think, "I bet he's going to burst in."
I am always on edge when I use the toilet here.
Yeah,
I kind of think, is he busy at the moment?
You have to wait till he's on the phone to go for a piss.
I have to sit there holding the lock.
Yeah.